back in Texas. He was one among us who rode north with a dream, for he wanted a girl, not just one to hold in his arms for a passing hour, but one to whom he could speak in the moonlight, a girl eager for the bright beauty of new love, with ears to listen to the words born of the poetry of life that had awakened within him. And I, who had ridden beside him and seen him grow from the boy he'd been to the man he had become, knew what lay within him. Knew the better because my heart had been singing its own song, and my horse's hooves had drummed a tune to the sound of the same haunting, far-off bells. The girl stood on the boardwalk outside the store, and when she lifted a hand to shade her eyes toward us, the sun caught at the red lights in her hair, and her eyes reached out for Tom as he rode up the street. She looked straight at him, with a smile on her face, and at 19 the smile of a strange girl is a glory to the blood and a spark to the spirit, carrying a richer wine than any sold across the bar of a frontier saloon. He'd had no shave for days, and the dust of the trail lay thick on his clothing, but he stepped down from the saddle and walked toward her. She looked at him, a long, appraising look, and then she turned and went inside. The glance she left with him neither promised nor rejected. He had taken his hat off, and now his hair blew in the wind. He stood there, staring, his heart yearning after her. Up the street, John Blake was watching, the black cigar in his teeth, and then his eyes turned to me. He rolled his cigar to the other side of his mouth, then turned away and walked up the street. Tom came back to his horse. "Conn," he said excitedly, "did you see her? Did you see that girl?" "I saw her." He wanted a bath and a shave. He wanted new clothes, and he wanted to know that girl. "It's trouble you're facing, Tom Lundy," I said. "She was a bonny lass, but you know the rules. No trail hand may walk north of the street, nor disturb the citizens." "I've got to know her, Conn. I've got to. I'm not going to bother anybody. It's just that I've got to know her, to talk to her." This is John Blake's town. The name had a special sound of its own, for it was a name known wherever cattle grazed. He was a hard man, trained by experience in the handling of hard men, knowing as much of their ways and movements as we knew of the cattle we drove. When he spoke, his voice was law. A square, powerful man with square, powerful hands, a man with a reputation for square dealing, but one who backed his law with a gun. "This is a time for courting," Tom Lundy said, "and I want trouble with no man, least of all with John Blake." When we stepped down from our saddles at the Bonton, I heard Red Mike say, "No drinking this day. We've got a man to stand behind." There was a bright eagerness in young Tom's eyes, and I stood there on the walk, watching him, and thinking about it. Tom Lundy was a man strong, and man in the work he did. He was Kate Lundy's brother, but he had asked no favors because of it, standing to his work through drought and blizzard, through dust and Indian battle. Yet in some ways he was very young, for in our wild country there were no girls for miles, and none for the likes of young Tom, who had grown to manhood on the novels of Sir Walter Scott. In his own dreams he was a knight in bright armor, who rode to find the golden-haired princess. He was no fool, no wild-eyed idealist, but simply a strong young man with an honest dream, a dream that his sister and I, God help me, had helped to build. And he had seen the girl. It might have been any of 1,000 girls in 1,000 towns spread across the land, but the moment was here, and it was this one he had seen. Banyan came out of his saloon and paused beside me. "Hard drive, Conn?" "The usual. More Indians, I think." "You're the first up the trail." "Ben," I said, "there was a girl in front of the store over there. A tall, straight, fine-looking girl with a touch of red in her hair. Do you know who she might be?" "Stay away from her." "It's not me, it's young Tom." Banyan took the cigar from his teeth and studied it carefully before replying. "Conn, you tell the boy to stay on his own side of the street. That's Aaron McDonald's daughter." The sign was on the store into which she had walked. McDonald's Emporium. "Tom Lundy," I said, "is a fine lad. If I had a sister, I'd be proud to have Tom interested in her." Banyan put the cigar back in his mouth and relighted it. "Tom Lundy," he said then, "is a Texan. He's also a cattle driver. In the mind of Aaron McDonald, that rates him a mite lower than a Red Indian." "The hell with him." "All right. You take my advice. Tell Tom to lay off." Did you ever try to talk to a youngster who has just seen the girl he thinks he can't live without? Aaron McDonald is a stiff-necked, bigoted old Puritan. Banyan spoke softly, and that very fact conveyed something to me. He owns the Emporium. He owns a piece of the bank. He owns the livery stable. He also has the finest house in town with grass growing in the yard and a picket fence around it. He came to town 8 months ago, and he passes me on the walk 2 or 3 times a day. He has never spoken to me. He has never so much as acknowledged my existence. Banyan paused. "I want you to understand something, Conn. I know how he feels, and do not hold it against him. He's Eastern. Since he came into town, he hasn't once driven any farther out of town than the cemetery. When he came west, he brought his New England village mind right along with him. He's a hard man, Conn, and meaning no offense, he thinks cattlemen are a wild, lawless crowd." In spite of myself, I had to smile. Sure, some of us were wild and lawless. This had been, and still was to a great extent, a lawless country. "Tom's a good boy," I said, "one of the best." "Not to Aaron McDonald, he isn't. You put chaps and spurs on a man, and as far as McDonald is concerned, he's a savage. He says the cattle are a passing phase, and the sooner we're rid of them, the better. And believe it or not, there are plenty who think just as he does." "Out here? They're crazy." "They are looking to farmers, Conn. They want to be rid of the cattle business, and of my kind, too, when it comes to that. They're jumping the gun, if you ask me. It will be years before there's farmers enough in this country to support a town." "Not to hear them tell it." Kate Lundy was coming out of the hotel, so I excused myself and went to meet her. Kate was a handsome woman. Not all the hardship of pioneering on the Texas border had taken one bit of it from her. She was tall, slender, and graceful. She had a beautifully boned face and large, lovely eyes. Yet there was a kind of special steel in Kate Lundy, a steel tempered and honed by the need to survive under the harshest kind of conditions. Only 2 people knew what Kate had been through. Only one, really, for Tom had been too young to appreciate most of it. And that left me. "Good morning, Conn," Kate said. "How are the cattle?" "Fine. I left Priest and Naylor out there with Dardaguet." "Have you had breakfast?" "Coffee. I thought I'd better come in and talk to them first. Hardiman's down at the yards. He can handle 500 head today, but we'll have to graze most of the herd until he gets more cars." "The grass is good." "Yes, it is." "You're worried, Conn. What is it?" "Tom. He's laid his eyes on Aaron McDonald's daughter, and he's cleaning up to go courting." "You mean she isn't a nice girl? Is that it?" "She lives north of the street." She didn't reply for a minute or two, and we stood there together in the bright sunlight. Finally, she said simply, "Conn, let's have breakfast." We turned toward the restaurant, but John Blake was coming up the walk, and we stopped to greet him. He had a square, strong face and blue eyes.